The envelope was thick. Too thick. Elena's fingers trembled as she stared at the stack of $100 bills. More money than she'd seen in her entire life. $20,000. The man in the black suit had said it was for her silence. For forgetting what she'd witnessed in that alley 3 months ago. For pretending she'd never seen the most dangerous man in New York City break down and cry over a photograph of a little girl. But Elena hadn't forgotten. She'd kept his secret, protected it like it was her own. And now, standing in the marble lobby of his downtown headquarters with a termination notice in her hand, she was about to find out if he remembered her at all. This is a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat from beginning to end. If you want to know how everything started and where this goes, subscribe to the channel and leave in the comments where you're watching from. Every view counts. Elena Cruz had learned early that survival meant keeping your head down and your mouth shut. At 24, she worked 3 jobs: day shift at a hospital laundry, evening shift cleaning office buildings, and weekend mornings at a diner in Hell's Kitchen. The math was simple. Rent plus food plus her mother's medications equaled 80-hour weeks and sleeping on the subway between shifts. It was past midnight when it happened. She was cutting through the alley behind Lombardy Street. A stupid risk, but the shortcut saved 15 minutes she desperately needed. That's when she heard it. Not the sound of violence she'd expected in this neighborhood. Something worse. Something that made her blood run cold. Crying. Raw, broken sobbing that sounded like it was being torn from someone's chest. Elena froze. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But something in that sound, the pure anguish of it, made her feet move forward instead. She peered around the dumpster and her heart stopped. A man sat slumped against the brick wall, his expensive suit jacket discarded beside him, white dress shirt stained with what looked like blood. Even in the shadows, she could see he was devastatingly handsome. Sharp jawline, dark hair falling across his forehead. But it was his hands that held her attention. He clutched a photograph like it was the only thing keeping him alive, and tears streamed down his face unchecked. "Papa's sorry," he whispered in Italian to the photo. "Papa's so sorry, piccola mia." Elena's breath caught. She should leave. She should run. But the grief radiating from this man was so profound it physically hurt to witness. That's when his head snapped up. Their eyes locked. Ice-gray eyes that went from devastated to deadly in a heartbeat. He was on his feet before she could blink, moving with a predator's grace despite the blood on his clothes. 3 men materialized from the shadows, bodyguards she hadn't even noticed. "Who the fuck are you?" His voice was rough from crying, but the authority in it was absolute. Elena's survival instincts finally kicked in. "I'm nobody. I didn't see anything. I'm leaving. Stop. One word." She froze mid-turn. He studied her with those calculating gray eyes, and she saw the moment he made his decision. He nodded to one of the guards. "Bring her." Terror flooded Elena's system as hands gripped her arms. "Please, I won't say anything. I swear. I just want to go home." "You think you can unsee what you saw?" He stepped closer, and she caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with gunpowder. "You think you can forget?" "Yes." The word came out desperate. "I forget things all the time. I'm very good at forgetting." Something flickered in his expression. Almost like humor. Almost. He reached into his jacket and Elena braced for a gun. Instead, he pulled out a thick envelope. $20,000, he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Take it. Forget you were here. Forget you saw me. Forget everything about tonight." Elena stared at the envelope. $20,000. That was 6 months of rent. A year of her mother's medications. A chance to sleep for more than 4 hours a night. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You don't need to understand. You need to take the money and disappear from my life." His jaw clenched. Can you do that?" She looked up at him. Really looked. Beneath the danger and the power and the obvious wealth, she saw what she'd witnessed in that first moment, a man drowning in grief so profound it had brought him to his knees in a dirty alley. "I can keep a secret," she said quietly, "but I don't need $20,000 to do it. Some things should stay private. Whatever you're going through, it's none of my business." For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he did something that surprised them both. He laughed. It was a rough, broken sound, but genuine. "You're refusing free money?" "I'm refusing payment for basic human decency." His expression shifted, softened almost imperceptibly. "What's your name?" "Elena. Elena Cruz." "Well, Elena Cruz, you're either the most noble person I've ever met or the stupidest." He pressed the envelope into her hands anyway. "Take it. Consider it an apology for scaring you." Before she could argue, he turned and walked away, his guards following like shadows. At the mouth of the alley, he paused and looked back. "Thank you," he said simply, "for not running." Then he was gone, swallowed by the New York night. Elena stood there, envelope heavy in her hands, and wondered what kind of man could command such fear and loyalty while crying alone in an alley over a photograph. She also wondered if she'd just made the best or worst decision of her life. She kept the money, paid her mother's medical bills, caught up on rent, and every night for 3 months she thought about those ice-gray eyes and that broken whisper, "Papa's sorry." She never told anyone, not a single soul. Until the morning she walked into her new job at Castellano Enterprises and saw his face on every wall. Not the broken man from the alley, but the powerful CEO who owned half of Manhattan. Dante Castellano, the most dangerous mafia boss in New York City. And she'd just been assigned as his new executive assistant. Elena stood frozen in the 45th floor reception area, her heart hammering against her ribs. The nameplate on the mahogany desk read, "Dante Castellano, CEO." Same sharp features from the business magazines. Same ice-gray eyes in the professional photographs lining the walls. But she knew what those photos didn't show, the way those eyes looked when they were filled with tears. Miss Cruz. The HR director, a sharp woman in her 50s, touched her elbow. "Is something wrong?" "No." Elena forced herself to breathe. "It's a beautiful office. Mr. Castellano expects excellence. Your resume was impressive. 3 years at Morrison & Associates, fluent in Italian and Spanish, impeccable references." The woman's smile was tight. "You'll need all those skills." He's demanding. Many assistants don't last a month. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. What were the odds? New York had 8 million people, and she'd been assigned to work for the one man who'd paid her to forget him. "He's in a meeting until 10, the HR director continued. "Get familiar with his calendar. He has very specific preferences about scheduling." The moment she was alone, Elena's hands shook as she logged into the computer system. She had to leave. Had to request a transfer before he saw her. But her mother's new medication cost $3,000 a month. This job paid twice what she'd made anywhere else. She couldn't afford to run. The office door opened at exactly 10 o'clock. Dante Castellano walked in surrounded by 4 men in dark suits. He was giving orders in rapid Italian, his presence filling the space like a physical force. He'd clearly come straight from the gym, black athletic wear, hair still damp, a gym bag over his shoulder. Even in workout clothes, he radiated lethal elegance. He didn't look at her. Strode past her desk like she was furniture. Elena exhaled in relief. Maybe he wouldn't recognize her. It had been 3 months, and it was dark in that alley. "Miss." He stopped mid-stride, turning slowly. His gray eyes locked onto her face, and she watched recognition slam into him like a freight train. Cruz. The way he said her name sent electricity down her spine. Every guard in the room tensed, hands moving toward concealed weapons. Mr. Castellano. She stood, forcing herself to meet his gaze. Good morning. 4-5 endless seconds. Nobody moved. Then Dante's jaw tightened and he turned to his men. Out. Boss. One started. Out. They left immediately. The door closed with a soft click that sounded deafening in the silence. Dante set his gym bag down with careful precision. When he looked at her again, his expression was unreadable. You're my new assistant. I didn't know, Elena said quickly. I swear, I had no idea this was your company. The placement agency sent me. If you want me to leave. Did you tell anyone? His voice was deadly quiet. No. Not a single person? No one. I kept my promise. He studied her for a long moment, and she saw something shift in his expression. Not quite trust, but consideration. Why? Why what? Why keep my secret? Why take this job if you recognized my name? Why not run? He moved closer, and Elena's back hit her desk. Most people who see what you saw end up in the Hudson River, Elena. So why the fuck are you still here? She lifted her chin, refusing to show fear even though her heart was racing. Because everyone deserves privacy in their grief. And because I need this job more than I need to be afraid of you. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. You need it more than your safety? My mother has stage 4 cancer. This job pays for her treatment. So yes, I need it more than my safety. The air between them crackled with tension. He was close enough now that she could see the faint scar on his jaw, smell his cologne mixed with subtle sweat from his workout. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, he said, echoing his words from 3 months ago. You've said that before. Because I'm still trying to figure out which one you are. His gaze dropped to her lips for a fraction of a second before returning to her eyes. I don't trust easily, Elena. And you're a complication I don't need. Then fire me. I should. But he didn't move. Didn't step back. The smart thing would be to eliminate the risk. Elena's blood ran cold at the implication, but she refused to flinch. Then do it. But you should know I gave that money to charity. All 20,000. So if you're going to kill me, at least know I didn't profit from your grief. She watched something crack in his carefully controlled expression. You what? Donated it. To a children's cancer ward. She swallowed hard. I don't know who you lost, Mr. Castellano, but I know what it looks like to watch someone you love suffer. That money felt wrong. So I gave it to kids who needed it more than I did. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he did something that shocked her. He laughed. A real laugh, rich and genuine. Christo. He ran a hand through his damp hair. You're going to be trouble, aren't you? I'm an excellent assistant, Elena said firmly. I'm organized, efficient, I speak 3 languages, and I will keep every one of your secrets. That's all you need to know about me. His eyes searched hers, and she saw the moment he made his decision. Fine. You can stay. But understand this. He leaned in close enough that she felt his breath on her cheek. If you betray me, if you tell anyone what you saw that night, there isn't a place on earth you can hide. Capice? I understand. Good. He stepped back, and the professional mask slid back into place. I take my espresso at 7 a.m., black, 2 sugars. My lunch meetings are always at Carmine's unless otherwise specified. I don't repeat myself, I don't tolerate mistakes, and I don't accept excuses. Think you can handle that? Elena straightened her blazer. "I've worked 3 jobs while taking care of a dying mother, Mr. Castellano. I think I can handle your coffee order." That earned her another smile, smaller this time, but there. "We'll see. Calendar's on the system. I have a conference call in 20 minutes. I'll need the Moretti contract files and whatever intelligence Marco gathered on the port situation." "Already on your desk," she said. She'd spent the last hour memorizing his schedule and pulling relevant files, along with the updated numbers from the accounting department and your dry cleaning. He raised an eyebrow. "Efficient. I told you." As he headed toward his office, he paused at the door. "Elena." "Yes. Thank you." His voice was softer now, more like that broken man in the alley. "For keeping my secret. For the charity. For not running." Before she could respond, he disappeared into his office, leaving her alone with a racing heart and the devastating realization that Dante Castellano was far more dangerous than she'd thought. Not because he was a mafia boss, but because when he looked at her like that, with genuine gratitude instead of calculated threat, she felt something shift in her chest that had nothing to do with fear. The intercom buzzed. "Miss Cruz? I need you in here." Elena took a deep breath and walked into the lion's den, completely unaware that her life was about to change forever. 3 weeks passed in a blur of 18-hour days, espresso runs, and slowly learning the rhythm of Dante Castellano's empire. Elena discovered he was more than just a dangerous man. He was brilliant. Ruthless in business, yes, but also fair. He remembered the names of every employee's children, paid for their education, and once shut down a meeting to take a call from a guard whose wife was in labor. But he never mentioned that night in the alley. Neither did she. Until the afternoon his daughter showed up. Elena was reviewing contracts when the elevator doors opened and a small whirlwind burst into the reception area. A little girl, maybe 4 years old, with dark curls and eyes that were pure Castellano gray. "Papa!" she shrieked with joy. Behind her, a flustered nanny stumbled out. "I'm so sorry, Miss Cruz. She got away from me at the playground. She insisted on seeing her father." The door to Dante's office flew open. He stood there, and Elena watched his entire demeanor transform. The lethal mafia boss vanished, replaced by a man whose face lit up like sunrise. "Isabella!" He scooped the little girl into his arms, spinning her around. "Principessa, what are you doing here?" "I missed you, Papa." She wrapped tiny arms around his neck. "Tommy pushed me, and I wanted you." "He pushed you?" Dante's voice went dangerously soft. "Where's Tommy now?" "Papa, no," Isabella giggled. "I pushed him back. Hard. Like you taught me." Pride and concern warred on his face. "That's my girl. But remember, we only fight when someone can't defend themselves," Isabella finished. "I know, Papa." Elena's heart clenched. This was why he'd been crying in that alley. This beautiful little girl. But why? She was clearly healthy, happy, loved beyond measure. That's when she noticed the hearing aids. Tiny pink devices tucked behind Isabella's ears. "Elena," Dante said, and she realized he'd caught her staring. His expression was guarded again. "This is my daughter, Isabella. Bella, this is Miss Cruz. She helps Papa with work." Isabella turned those solemn gray eyes on her. Then she smiled, bright and genuine. "You're pretty. Papa needs pretty people around. He's always so serious." "Isabella," Dante warned, but there was warmth in it. "It's true." The little girl turned back to Elena. "Do you speak Italian?" "Sì," Elena replied. "Parlo Italiano." Isabella's face lit up. She signed something quickly with her hands, and Elena recognized it immediately. ASL. Her mother's best friend was deaf. She'd learned to sign as a child. You know how to talk with your hands, too? Isabella signed, eyes wide with wonder. Elena's hands moved before she could think. Yes. My friend taught me when I was young. The little girl's shriek of delight was pure joy. She wriggled out of her father's arms and ran to Elena, grabbing her hands. Nobody here can talk to me this way except Papa. Will you be my friend? Elena glanced at Dante. His expression was unreadable, but something intense burned in his eyes. I would love to be your friend, Elena signed back. Papa. Isabella turned to her father, signing and speaking simultaneously. Can Miss Cruz come to dinner? Please. I like her. Bella, Miss Cruz is very busy. Actually, Elena heard herself say, I'd love to come to dinner, if it's okay with your father. Dante's jaw tightened. A word, Miss Cruz? In my office. Now. He handed Isabella back to the nanny with instructions to wait in the conference room, then pulled Elena into his office and shut the door. What are you doing? His voice was low, dangerous. Your daughter asked me to dinner. I said yes. You don't understand what you're getting into. Then explain it to me. Elena crossed her arms. You hired me. You trusted me with your schedule, your business calls, your secrets. But you don't trust me with your daughter. It's not about trust. Then what is it about? He moved closer, and the air between them charged like a live wire. It's about the fact that everyone I care about becomes a target, Elena. It's about the fact that my daughter already lost her mother to this life. It's about the fact that you signing with her, making her smile like that, it's dangerous. Dangerous how? Because now she'll want you around. Now she'll get attached. His voice dropped. And so will I. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Elena's breath caught. I'm already around, she said softly. I see you every day. I know your secrets. I kept your worst moment private. What's dinner going to change? Everything. He was close enough now that she could see the gold flecks in his gray eyes. Because sitting at my table, in my home, meeting my daughter, that means something in my world. It means you're under my protection. It means you're mine. I don't belong to anyone. That's what you think. His hand came up, and for a moment she thought he might touch her face. Instead, he pulled back, fist clenching. You should leave. Transfer to a different department. It's not too late. I'm not leaving. Cristo, Elena. He turned away, bracing his hands on his desk. Do you have any idea what I do? The things I've done? I'm not a good man. I know exactly what you are. She moved closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. You're a man who cries over his daughter in dark alleys. You're a father who teaches his little girl to defend herself. You're a boss who shuts down meetings for employees in need. So yes, Dante Castellano, I know what you are. He spun around, and the look in his eyes stole her breath. And what am I? Dangerous, she whispered. Powerful. Terrifying. She took one more step. And capable of love so deep it breaks you. The distance between them evaporated. His hand finally made contact, fingers sliding along her jaw with devastating gentleness. You're going to destroy me, aren't you? I'm just your assistant. Baggiada. Liar. His thumb brushed her bottom lip. You haven't been just my assistant since the moment I met you. The office door burst open. Boss. Marco, his head of security, stood there looking panicked. We've got a situation. The Morettas hit one of our shipments. 4 men down, product gone. Dante's entire demeanor shifted in a heartbeat. The vulnerability vanished, replaced by cold calculation. But his hand stayed on Elena's face for one more second, a silent promise. "Lock down the building," he ordered. "Elena doesn't leave without a full security detail." "I don't need. Non discutere con me. Don't argue with me." His eyes were ice again, but burning beneath. "You said you know what I am. Then you know I protect what's mine. And whether you like it or not, Tesoro, you're mine now." He released her and strode out, already barking orders in Italian. Elena stood there, heart racing, lips still tingling from where his thumb had touched them, and realized with devastating clarity that she was in far more danger than she'd thought. Not from his enemies. From falling for a man who could destroy her with a single kiss. Isabella appeared in the doorway, signing hopefully. "Does this mean you're coming to dinner?" Elena smiled despite everything. "Yes, Piccola. I'm coming to dinner." She just wasn't sure if it was the best decision or the biggest mistake of her life. Dante's home wasn't what Elena expected. No fortress-like mansion, no ostentatious displays of wealth. Instead, a brownstone in Brooklyn Heights with a small garden where Isabella's toys were scattered across the grass. Warm lights glowed in the windows. It looked like a home. The security, however, was another story. 8 guards stationed around the perimeter, cameras on every corner, armored SUVs in the driveway. "Papa says our house is a castle," Isabella signed as she led Elena through the front door. "And he's the king who keeps us safe." Inside was even more unexpected. Kids' drawings on the refrigerator. A massive sectional couch covered in blankets. Photos everywhere. Isabella at various ages, birthday parties, the beach, the park. And in every single one, Dante smiled like she was his entire world. "Welcome." Dante appeared in the doorway, and Elena's breath caught. He'd changed into dark jeans and a black Henley that hugged his muscular frame. Casual. Devastating. Nothing like the man in expensive suits who ruled his empire. "Nice house," she managed. "It's home." Something soft entered his expression. Bella's mother wanted her to grow up normal. As normal as possible, anyway. "Can I ask what happened?" To her mother. His jaw tightened. "Not tonight. Tonight, we pretend this is just dinner." But it wasn't just dinner. It was Isabella teaching Elena her favorite card game. It was Dante cooking pasta carbonara from scratch while his daughter danced around the kitchen. It was the 3 of them sitting at the dining table, and for a few stolen hours, it felt like family. "You make Papa smile," Isabella signed to Elena when Dante went to get dessert. "He hasn't smiled like this in forever." "How long?" Elena signed back. "Since Mama went to heaven." 3 years. Elena's heart broke. 3 years of grief. That's what she'd witnessed in the alley, a father still drowning in the loss of his daughter's mother. After dinner, while Isabella watched a movie, Dante and Elena stood in his study. The room was all dark wood and leather, walls lined with books in Italian and English. A massive desk dominated the space, but Elena's eyes caught on the photos, so many photos of Isabella, and one of a beautiful woman with kind eyes. "Maria," Dante said quietly. "Bella's mother. My wife." He picked up the photo. She was a kindergarten teacher. No connection to my world. I kept her away from all of it. Thought I could protect her. What happened? Cancer. The word was bitter. Ovarian. By the time we found it, it was stage 4. She fought for 2 years. Isabella was only a year old. His hand trembled slightly. I would have burned the world down to save her. Killed anyone, paid anything. But money can't cure everything. I'm sorry. You were right. That night in the alley, it was the anniversary of her death. I'd held it together for Bella all day, played Princess Tea Party, tucked her in with stories. Then I fell apart. He set the photo down. You weren't supposed to see that. Nobody was. Elena moved closer. Is that why you paid me? Because you were embarrassed. I paid you because you witnessed vulnerability from a man who can't afford vulnerability. In my world, weakness gets you killed. That wasn't weakness. She touched his arm. That was love. He looked down at her hand on his arm, then up at her face. You keep doing that. What? Seeing things in me nobody else does. Treating me like I'm not a monster. You're not a monster, Dante. You don't know that. But he covered her hand with his, holding it against his arm. You don't know the things I've done to protect what's mine. The people I've hurt. The lines I've crossed. Then tell me. I can't. His eyes were anguished. Because if I do, you'll run. And I can't. He stopped, jaw working. Cristo, Elena, I can't lose you too. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now. But when you really understand what being close to me means. The window exploded inward. Glass shattered across the room. Dante's body slammed into Elena's, taking her to the ground as bullets tore through the air where they'd been standing. His weight pressed her into the carpet, sheltering her completely. "Stay down!" he roared, already moving. He pulled a gun from the desk drawer with practiced ease, returned fire through the broken window. "Marco, get Bella to the safe room. Now!" Chaos erupted. Gunfire, shouting, car engines. Elena's ears rang, her heart hammered, but through it all, she watched Dante transform into something lethal and precise. Every movement calculated. Every shot deadly accurate. "East Side breach!" someone shouted. Dante cursed in Italian. He looked back at Elena, and the conflict in his eyes was devastating. Stay and fight or protect her? "Go," Elena said. "Protect Isabella. I'll be fine. Like hell." He grabbed her hand, hauled her up, and dragged her toward a hidden door in the bookshelf. "Safe room. Both of you." The room beyond was reinforced steel, monitors showing every angle of the property. Isabella sat on a small bed, eyes wide but not crying. Brave, like her father. "Papa," she signed. "I'll be right back, Principessa. Miss Cruz will stay with you." "Dante," Elena started. He cupped her face with both hands, and the intensity in his eyes pinned her in place. "If I don't come back, there's a phone in that drawer. Call Vincent. He'll get you both to safety. You're coming back. If I don't, you're coming back." Elena grabbed his shirt. "You hear me? You don't get to cook me dinner, let me meet your daughter, make me feel things, and then die. That's not how this works." Something fierce and possessive flashed across his face. "What are you feeling, Elena?" "Everything," she whispered. "I'm feeling everything, and it terrifies me." "Good." He kissed her. Hard, desperate, claiming. His hand fisted in her hair, and she tasted desperation and promise on his lips. "Because I'm feeling it too. And when I come back, we're going to talk about it." Then he was gone, the steel door slamming shut behind him. Elena sank down next to Isabella, wrapping an arm around the trembling little girl. Through the monitors, she watched Dante and his men systematically eliminate the threat. He moved like death itself, precise, merciless, utterly in control. This was the man the world saw. The monster. The MAFIA boss. But she'd seen the truth. The father who cried in alleys. The man who cooked pasta and played card games. The protector who'd thrown his body over hers without hesitation. "He always comes back," Isabella signed, reading her fear. "Papa always comes back. He promised." 20 minutes later, the gunfire stopped. The door opened, and Dante stood there, shirt torn, blood on his hands that wasn't his, eyes wild until they found Elena and Isabella. "It's over," he said roughly. "You're both safe." Isabella ran to him, and he scooped her up, holding her tight. Over his daughter's head, his eyes locked onto Elena's. And she knew. In that moment, watching him hold his daughter while looking at her like she was precious, Elena knew she'd already fallen. Completely. Irrevocably. Who were they? Elena signed, so Isabella wouldn't hear. "The Moretti family. They found out about you. Saw you as leverage. Because I work for you? No." His gaze was molten. "Because they saw how I look at you. And they wanted to hurt me through you." The implication settled over her like a brand. She wasn't just his assistant anymore. She was something more. Something worth attacking him for. Something he'd kill to protect. "We need to talk," Dante said aloud. "About what this means. About what you mean to me." "Papa loves Miss Cruz," Isabella signed matter-of-factly. "I can tell. He looks at her the way he looked at Mama in the pictures." Dante's expression cracked. "Bella." "It's okay, Papa. Mama would want you to be happy. She told me so. Before she went to heaven." Elena watched this powerful, dangerous man break apart and rebuild himself in front of his daughter. Watched him struggle with grief and hope and fear. "I do," he said quietly, eyes on Elena. "I do love her. More than I thought I could love anyone again." The words hung in the air between them, terrifying and beautiful. "Dante," Elena's voice broke. "You don't have to say anything. I know this is fast. I know it's crazy. But in my world when you know. And I know, Elena. You're it for me." Isabella clapped her hands. "Does this mean Miss Cruz can live with us?" "Please. Bella, that's not—" "Yes," Elena signed before she could stop herself. The word came from somewhere deep and certain. "If your papa will have me." Dante crossed the room in 3 strides, still holding Isabella. He kissed Elena again, softer this time but no less devastating. "I'll have you," he murmured against her lips. "I'll have you for as long as you'll let me." "Then I guess you're stuck with me, Mr. Castellano." "Good." He pulled back, expression turning serious. "But you need to understand, this life, my life, it comes with danger. With sacrifice. Tonight won't be the last time someone tries to hurt you because of me." "I know. And you're still saying yes?" Elena looked at Isabella's hopeful face, then at Dante's scared and fierce expression. She thought about the man crying in an alley, the father who protected fiercely, the boss who cared about his people. "I'm saying yes. Then we do this right." Dante set Isabella down and took both of Elena's hands. "You move in here. Full security. You're under my protection completely. And we see where this goes. Your assistant living in your house? That'll cause talk." His smile was wolfish. "Let them talk. You're mine now. The whole world can know it." 6 months later, Elena stood in the same penthouse office where this had all begun, but everything had changed. The attack on Dante's home had been the beginning, not the end. The Morettas had declared war, and for months Elena had watched Dante fight for his empire, his daughter, and the life they were building together. She'd also learned the full truth. About the rival families who wanted Dante's territory. About the corrupt politicians he'd had to pay off. About the difficult choices he made every day to keep his people safe. And through it all, she'd stood beside him, never wavering. Now, on a cold March morning, everything was about to end. Mako burst into the office. "Boss, we've got a problem. Big one." Vincent called. "The feds are moving. They've got warrants. Surveillance footage. They're coming for you within the hour. Elena's blood ran cold. What? Dante's expression was calm, but his hands clenched into fists. I knew this day would come. How much time? 45 minutes. Maybe less. Marco looked at Elena. You need to leave. No. Take Isabella and disappear. I've got a car ready. No. Dante's voice was absolute. Elena and Isabella stay out of this. They're clean. The feds have nothing on them. Dante, Elena started. No. He turned to her, and the fear in his eyes cut deeper than any bullet could. I won't let you go down with me. You and Bella, you're my whole world. I need you safe. Then run with us, she pleaded. We can disappear together. You know I can't. He cupped her face. If I run, they'll hunt all of us forever. But if I face this, take the fall, you and Isabella can have a normal life. The life Maria wanted for her. Elena's eyes burned. Don't do this. Don't be noble. We can figure something out. There's nothing to figure out. This is the price of the life I chose. He pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. But you were the unexpected gift. These 6 months with you were worth everything. Papa? Isabella appeared in the doorway, signing frantically. Why is everyone upset? What's happening? Dante's composure cracked. He went to his daughter, kneeling to her level. Papa has to go away for a while, Principessa. No. Isabella's small hands moved desperately. You promised. You said you'd always come back. I will come back. I promise. But Miss Cruz will take care of you until I do. His voice broke. You be good for her, okay? You protect each other. Elena watched father and daughter cling to each other, and something fierce ignited in her chest. She'd spent her whole life keeping her head down, staying invisible, surviving. But this, watching the man she loved sacrifice himself, watching this little girl lose another parent, this she couldn't accept. Marco, she said suddenly, those surveillance files the feds have. Where did they come from? Moretti family handed them over. Deal to save their own asses. So the files show Dante's operations? Every detail. Shipments, meetings, everything. Elena's mind raced. She thought about the last 6 months. About every file she'd organized, every meeting she'd scheduled, every detail she'd learned. An idea formed, risky, possibly insane, but it might work. What if the files disappeared? Marco stared at her. What? The feds need evidence for their warrants to stick. If the evidence is compromised, tainted, or proven to be falsified, they'd have to drop the case, Dante said slowly, standing. But Elena, those files are in federal custody. There's no way to. Actually, Elena interrupted, pulling out her phone, there might be. She dialed a number she'd hoped never to use. Vincent? It's Elena. I need that favor you offered. The big one. Now. 20 minutes later, Elena had orchestrated something impossible. Vincent, who'd spent 20 years in the FBI before retiring, still had contacts. Good contacts. Within an hour, those contacts discovered something interesting. The surveillance files had been doctored. Timestamps altered, audio spliced, evidence manufactured by the Moretti family. It wasn't entirely true. But it was plausible enough to create reasonable doubt. How did you? Dante started. I didn't keep your secret all this time just to lose you to a prison cell, Elena said fiercely. You think I don't know how to fight? I've been fighting my whole life. Now I'm fighting for us. Marco's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression shifted from panic to disbelief. Boss. The warrants are being recalled. The evidence is under investigation for tampering. They're backing off." The relief in the room was palpable. Isabella threw herself at her father, and Dante caught her, holding her tight while his eyes stayed locked on Elena. "You saved me," he said hoarsely. "You saved me first. In that alley. When you gave me a chance instead of eliminating a witness." Elena moved closer. "I told you I know what you are. A protector. A father. A man worth saving." Dante set Isabella down gently. "Go play with your toys for a minute, Principessa. Papa needs to talk to Miss Cruz." When they were alone, he pulled Elena into his arms. "What you did was risky. Dangerous. You could have." "Could have what?" "Lost you." She looked up at him. "Not acceptable. You don't get to sacrifice yourself for me. We're in this together now." "Together," he repeated, like the word was sacred. "Elena Cruz, will you marry me?" She blinked. "What? I was going to wait. Do this properly. But I can't wait any more." He pulled a small box from his desk drawer. "I bought this 3 months ago. Been carrying it with me ever since. Waiting for the right moment." "Dante, I know it's insane. I know we've only been together 6 months. But I've wasted enough time being afraid of losing people I love. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you be Bella's mother? Will you build a life with me, dangerous and messy and probably crazy as it is?" Elena looked at the ring, a simple, perfect solitaire diamond. Then at the man holding it. The man who'd cried in an alley over his daughter. The man who'd protected her without hesitation. The man who'd been willing to go to prison to keep her safe. "Yes." The word came out certain and strong. "Yes, I'll marry you." He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her like she was oxygen. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Isabella was watching from the doorway with the biggest smile Elena had ever seen. "Did he ask? Did you say yes?" she signed excitedly. "I said yes," Elena signed back. Isabella shrieked with joy and ran to them. Dante scooped her up, and suddenly Elena was wrapped in both their arms, and it felt like coming home. "There's going to be more battles," Dante warned. "The Moretus won't stop. My enemies will keep coming. Let them come." Elena's voice was steel. "I didn't survive 3 jobs and a dying mother by being weak. I survived by fighting. And now I have something worth fighting for." "We have each other," Dante corrected. "And nothing is taking this family from me again." 3 months later, Elena walked down the aisle of a small chapel in Brooklyn. No extravagant wedding, no media circus. Just close family, loyal friends, and the 2 people who mattered most. Isabella served as flower girl, scattering petals with delight while signing, "That's my new mama," to everyone who would watch. And when Dante saw Elena in her simple white dress, the same man who'd once cried alone in an alley over a photograph openly wept with joy as she walked toward him. The priest began the ceremony. "We are gathered here today." But Elena barely heard the words. She was too focused on Dante's face, on the way he looked at her like she'd hung the moon, on Isabella's small hand tucked in hers, on the family she'd found in the most unexpected place. "I do," Dante said when asked. "I do," Elena echoed. "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Dante pulled her close, and the kiss was everything. Promise and passion and the beginning of something beautiful. "Ti amo, mia bella moglie," he murmured against her lips. "I love you, my beautiful wife." "I love you too," she whispered back. "My dangerous, impossible, wonderful husband." As they walked back down the aisle together, Isabella between them holding both their hands, Elena thought about that night 3 months ago. About a man crying in an alley. About $20,000 and a secret kept. She'd refused his money and kept his secret not because she had to, but because it was the right thing to do. And somehow, that one act of kindness had led her here, to love, to family, to a life she'd never dreamed possible. "What are you thinking about?" Dante asked as they stepped into the sunlight. That sometimes the most dangerous choices lead to the most beautiful destinations. He smiled, that rare, genuine smile reserved only for her and Isabella. "You regret any of it?" Elena looked at her new daughter, her new husband, the life stretching before them. "Not a single second." "Good." He kissed her temple. "Because you're stuck with us now, Mrs. Castellano." "Sounds perfect to me." And it was. 5 years later, Elena stood in the kitchen of their Brooklyn brownstone, watching through the window as Dante taught 9-year-old Isabella and 3-year-old Marco Jr. how to plant tomatoes in the garden. The sight made her heart full to bursting. The Moretti family had been neutralized years ago, not through violence, but through legal channels and strategic alliances. Dante had gradually shifted his business interests toward legitimate enterprises. Construction, real estate, restaurants. He'd kept his edge, his intensity, but channeled it differently. "Mama," Isabella signed, running inside. "Papa says dinner is almost ready. Can I set the table?" "Of course, sweetheart." Elena watched her daughter move through the kitchen with confidence, no longer the scared little girl who'd lost her mother. She'd gained a new one. And together, they'd built something beautiful. Dante came in carrying Marco, who was chattering away in Italian about the worms they'd found. He set their son down and wrapped his arms around Elena from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. "What are you thinking about, Tesoro?" he murmured. "About alleys," she said softly. "About secrets. About a man who paid me to forget him. And how grateful I am that I never did." He turned her to face him, and the love in his eyes still made her breathless after all these years. "You saved me that night, you know. Not just by keeping my secret. By seeing me. The real me. You saved me too. Gave me a family. A home. A life I never thought I'd have." "Papa." "Mama." Isabella called. "Stop kissing. The pasta is getting cold." They laughed, breaking apart. As they sat down to dinner, their family, their home, their hard-won peace, Elena caught Dante's eye across the table and smiled. She'd walked into that alley 5 years ago expecting danger. Instead, she'd found everything. And she'd kept his secret forever, not out of fear, but out of love. The best decision she'd ever made. And that's where our story ends. If you connected with Elena and Dante's journey, leave a like and share with someone who loves intense romance stories. More stories are coming your way. See you in the next one.